welcome to Quilting with Tina. I'm hoping you will have a a great day. It is afternoon here at 4 p.m. in the Eastern time zone. I know it's different times now around the world right now, so welcome and whatever time it is for you. If you could pop in, when you pop in, can you please give me a thumbs up, a hi, and can you please tell me where you're from? Just let me know where you're from here and there, from around the world. I know last week we had someone from Australia in the group, so let's get. That was wonderful. Thank you, everyone who's coming in. Hi, Liz. Hi, Doris. Hi, Pamela. Pamela. Sorry. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the elements that are going to make up my new book, Poppin with Wings. This book, this is my author's copy, so that band won't be there when I get the original, the final copy, I should say. So this book is full of patterns that are from different, they're based on the Studio 180 tools. So let me tell you a little bit about it. This book takes your average Flying Geese units and takes them to a whole nother level. Some of these geese you will not even notice that they are even geese in the patterns. They're kind of hidden in there. What's going to give them a whole other level is a little pop using the Studio 180 Corner Pop 2 and or 3 tools. Have anybody used the Corner Pop tools before, or the Flying Geese? If you could, please let me know in the comments below. I just love playing with the Corner Pops because it takes any of your units and makes it a whole different type of block or a unit out there. So over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to show you what it takes to make one of these blocks, and how we can make these blocks using these tools. So today I'm going to go over the base unit, which is the Flying Geese unit. The Flying Geese is the way I made it in there was to use the Studio 180 wing clipper tool. I want to show you some of the tips and techniques and how to fix some of your problems that you may have, and I've seen when I've taught this class before. Doris says she hasn't used them, but she says, but I don't like Flying Geese, so I'm hoping this makes it easier to make them. Oh, it makes them much easier, and you will not have any problems with making these Flying Geese after watching this demo. So I think we should get started. So I'm going to put my book over here, and if you have questions, please post them in the comment section as I go through these. So let's switch screens here and let's get started. Oh, Pamela says she loves the Studio 180 wing clipper tool. So do I. It makes your geese very perfect, just like these geese here. I hope you can see these okay. And I'm hoping you can hear me okay. So what the wing clipper tool does, it makes a precision unit out of this. Now the wing clipper tool, which looks like this, is based off 10 different sizes. So you can make from the littlest of 1.5 by 1 to a 5.5 by 10.5. So you have multi-sized wings in here, and you can have so much fun with this, and you can be left-handed or right-handed. Now, I imagine most of you probably are right-handed. I am left-handed, and so I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to show you the right-handed versions also. I'll do both at the same time when I'm demonstrating here. So, because the trimming down process is a little bit different. Now, when we're making these units, we're making them oversized. And when we're oversized, it helps down with the trim down process. So we make 4 at a time. I'm moving my tool out of the way. And what we do is we start with a large square and 4 smaller squares. These smaller squares are going to be your wings, just like I have in this one right here. And the larger is your body. So that's how we get started with those. So once we have our units cut, we're going to set the large to the side for a second. And let's talk instruments that we need for marking our stitching lines. Our stitching lines are going to be done on the back of the smaller squares. Now, you can use either a fine pigment pen or a fine pencil. I prefer the pigment pens, especially when I'm working with the lighter colors. Now, if I'm working with a darker color, I'll use a pencil. But these are fine tipped. We also need is a Studio 180 design quilter's magic wand. Why the magic wand? The magic wand is exactly a 1/2 inch across, but you'll notice down the center is a line, and that is very easy to see. This line is going to go from diagonal to diagonal along the square here, and this is going to mark the center of our unit. So what you do then is you take your pen or pencil and you mark your stitching lines. Now, I would not go straight up and down. I kind of like to go at an angle. The reason I like to go at an angle gives me a couple extra threads on that square for stitching lines. And I do it on both sides. And you do that for all your smaller squares. So I'll do that one more time, because I already have 2. And let me move this up a little bit for you guys. And again, you're going to do it at an angle towards that quilter's magic wand. And you have your stitching lines. So next, we take our larger square. We're getting ready to stitch our first lines. And we're going to then line these up on our square. Now, when we line these up, we only want a couple of threads. We want to show a couple of threads from our larger square. So we're going to line that up squarely on both sides. Now you can pin these if you prefer. Now I do not pin these myself because what I do is I'm going to bring over my iron and I'm going to place this on my ironing board. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these in place. With a little heat, it'll start to fuse that fabric together and it won't shift on you when you're at your sewing machine. So what I do is I take my iron and I just place it on here just for a few seconds. And that one kind of moved on me, so I'm going to adjust that one so I can see there's a little bit of, I don't see enough threads on that larger square. So that's gets you started, and I don't have to pin. And you'll notice those don't move. So then you're going to take these to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch on these lines or just inside those lines. Just on the inside of those lines, not this side, but the inside. So that'll give you an extra couple of threads also for when we go to trim. So once we get those all sewn, your unit is going to look like this. It's ready to go. So once I get these ready, I usually chain piece all my pieces first, unless I'm doing a first step where I'm learning where my sweet spot is, exactly where I'm going to put that small triangle, my first test piece, in other words. And I'm going to then take this to my ironing board, and I'm going to press this down because you're going to have a little bit of bulk in here, and I want it to lay flat when I go to cut this. Then you're going to either take one of your Creative Grid rulers or another ruler, or even use your wing clipper tool. This wing clipper tool is great for multiple tasks, especially when you're making your wing clipper, your Flying Geese. It has dashed lines, which are 1/4 of an inch from the outer edge. I use these 1/4 of an inch lines to then line them up on my sewing lines here, my nice thread lines, and I then cut this in half. You end up with 2. I didn't quite get that bottom piece, so let's fix that. And once you have these ready to go and cut apart, we're going to then take these to our ironing board again. So let's move our ironing board again over, and we're going to press away from the larger triangle towards the smallers. So we're going to make some little wings on this. So here's our first little wing. Be gentle. Now we're working with a bias here. So now we have these pressed. Press them good. Now if you have one of those clappers, those wing clappers, that would be a good time to place this down and let the heat continue to go on these and let them lay flat. So you're going to do that for both of those 2 pieces. Oops. So next, since these are all ready to go, we are going to then take our additional pieces, small squares, and we're going to place these on just like we did when we first got ready to sew the first set on the larger square. We're going to line these up again, so we just have just enough couple of threads in, and you barely can see these pieces here on that triangle. And you're going to go ahead and then stitch on these lines once again. So now once you get those to that point, your piece is going to end up looking like this. So now we're going to do it the same thing what we did for the larger square, and we're going to cut these in half also. Again, I use the dashed line on my tool, which is 1/4 of an inch, will be right down the center. Line it up on my seam line, and it'll be point to point. We're going to cut that in half. Now we have 2 units. Once we get these units, we're going to press these towards the small wing again. And you're going to do it very gently. Now, while you're looking at this unit, you may want to look and make sure it is a perfect V. If you don't like that V and it's sticking way out, just pull that in, grabbing it with your iron and pulling it back right in. And your iron will correct itself. So now we're going to do that again with the other side. And I'm pretty happy with those. So now, why do you move the small square just a few? Well, what we're doing is we're giving a little bit more, instead of going out to the outer edge, we're bringing it in so we can have more wings to trim down with. So if you left it at the edge, you wouldn't have that much to trim away at all. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you don't, when there's different ways, places where you can line it up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to trim. Now I'm going to start with right-handed and just do a quick demo on how to get this started for this one. And if I'm brave enough, I may even trim it for you guys. So I'm going to make this as a 2.5 by 4.5. I should have said that in the beginning, that this is the common size I used in the book. I did make some 3.5 by 6.5 in the book also. So on the tool, you'll notice we have diagonal lines. Let me move this out of the way. We have some diagonal lines and we have some solid lines here that make the square. This is going to be your unit. So if we're making a 2.5 by 4.5, we're going to use these lines. We're going to make sure our unit is in those lines. Now, the diagonals are going to be your seam, where it's going to line up on your seam lines. So let's get started. Well, let me show you how that looks on our wing clipper. So if you're right-handed, the wings are going to face you. The body is going to face away from you. And we're going to line this up. So we want a 2.5 by 4.5. Now we're just going to place that on our seams. Now, this is a common, and you can probably see this within my tool, and I may just adjust this a little bit more so you can see what I am doing here. Okay, you'll notice that on this piece here, I did not go in a whole bunch of threads on this piece. And we are barely inside, on the outside of that 2.5 by 4.5. We actually really want to be on the opposite side of that. I should have gone in a little bit further and we would have had more. And this side is actually to the point where it's actually really good for trimming down, because we want a nice, clean, crisp unit. We can still work with this unit. It's going to be tight, but we can do this. And another thing I've noticed when I'm laying this up is my lines here, especially on this side here, are not lying on that wing right there. This is a common thing that I've noticed out there. So there's a trick to fix this, and I'm going to show you that with my ironing board first. And you do not have to rip out for that. So let me put these to the side and bring my ironing board back in. So just like I showed you before, the iron is going to be our friend. When I first showed you, we should watch the way our lines go out. So and it's best to use a hot steaming iron for this part here. So what you're going to do is just place your iron down, and I've noticed that this kind of flares out. It doesn't go up and straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up until it looks a little bit better. Now to test that, we're going to place our wing clipper tool on our unit, and I'm just going to place it for now, and it's corrected itself. So now we have a perfect V, and our points match up here, and along these lines are sewing lines. So now we are ready to trim. So let's move this out of the way, and let's go ahead and trim. So right-handed. So right-handed, we're going to again place that on our unit, making sure that our V matches up into that point right there, and our sewing lines are on the lines that go up and down, the sewing lines. And we're going to cut. What you're going to do is you're going to cut up and across. That is our first cut. So now we have our very first cut, and I always close my rotary cutter each time I'm stopped using it, just for safety. And I rotate this for the right-handed people 160 degrees around. So now we have the nice trimmed unit here, and we're going to trim up our rest of our sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to find that 2.5 by 4.5, and we're going to go and line that up right on those nice trimmed edges we just made. So we've got a nice lined up. Again, we're looking at our V here, which is now an X, because that X point is where our V is. And we're also looking at lines. There's a line that goes down that seam line. But we're mostly looking at is our trim line here. And we have some very little bit of trim here to do. So, and we're going to look at other flying geese that I have made, and we're going to trim those down also. So we got those. We're going to go up, and we're going to go across. Very carefully doing this. And like I said, there's very little to take off. So there is your nice, clean looking flying geese unit. So I have some other ones. So let me show you how to do a left-handed version. Left-handed, you're going to take the body and lay it to your left side. And the wings are going to go to your right side. It's amazing, there's so much difference between a left-handed and right-handed cutting. That is a first, that was been already cut. Let's grab a different one here. Silly, I I grabbed the wrong one from the wrong stack. So again, Flying Geese. You'll notice there's some problems with this Flying Geese also. Now, if you line it up, you have on this edge here, we have problems. And down here, we are perfectly, we have a little bit more wing here. So, but you'll notice that we also have more of the body showing. So that shows you that's about the right spot to have. So it's at least 3 in here, 3 good threads into that body, which was our larger square. So let's go ahead and look at this again. Let me line this up. So we need to adjust this with our iron again. Very easy to fix, as you saw in the very first one. Let's bring that iron back in and let's play with this one. So again, we're going to take our nice high iron, get it hot on our Flying Geese unit, and we're going to just slowly bring, I grabbed the very tail of that wing and I just kind of bring it in. And I just work it around, and then I come back, I hold that down, and I work it back the other way. So you don't have to really rip these out. All you have to do is just do some iron. And if you want it to really to stay, you can put some best press down on this to help it stay a little bit better. The reason these get a little whacked is because we're working with a bias when we do cut these in half down the middle. So they do get a little out of whack a little bit, so we can fix that very easy. So let's check. So I'm going to check with this again with 2.5, and we're almost there. We just got a little bit more, so I'm going to work from this side and pull that side up. So this time I'm going to work this up and work towards the center. And then work out. So I'll just hold that for a few minutes, for seconds, and it should be fixed. Let's check. I always double check before I move on to the cutting board, and we have got it. It is sitting there. Let me move this up so you can actually see it. It is actually sitting exactly where it should. So that's how you correct that problem. And this is, if you have any other questions about that, this video will be saved on this for my Facebook group, and it also will be in my I'm going to put it on post it on my YouTube channel probably tomorrow. So now what we can do is we're going to line this up again, the 2.5 by 4.5. We got that in there. We have some extra to cut the trim along. Perfect amount on this side. This side could have been in a little bit more, but you notice it is it's up at the top here. So I set this up for the left-handed, but we made sure these lines are matched up, lined up, and we are going to trim up and across. So that solved that problem right there. And I'm going to rotate that 180 degrees. So now the wings are on my left side. I'm going to line that 2.5 by 4.5 line exactly on my trim lines. And we are going to trim that up. That's how easy it is to make those units, and you get a nice crisp unit, and it doesn't look wonky when like this one here, since it's not been trimmed. It doesn't look wonky. We have a nice unit that can be sewn together. You can sew those two units together and it's going to make a nice little square when finished. So let you have any other questions or problems that you've had out there? I can go through a couple more to show you if you want. I'll go ahead and do one more. I'm going to do it left-handed because it's a little easier for me, but I'll show you in right-handed first. So we're going to again line this up with the wings towards us, and I want the 4.5 by 2.5, and this is actually not too bad. We actually have plenty of room. Now this is a little off right there, but actually it just settled right into that. So it is actually ready. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this right-handed. Up and across. And again, we'll rotate that. I'm going to go ahead and do this left-handed for the last part here because I've accidentally put it in there, so we'll just leave it. And we'll line this up and across. We have some flying geese. So I hope this convinced you how easy it is to make those units using the wing clipper tool. Let's go ahead and go back. Let's change our screens here. So let's see, we don't have any questions. So, okay, so next week I'm going to show you what the difference between the 3 corner pop tools are. That's the next element. Those tools are going to be used in the book also. So that's what makes our little pops in our units. So, and you can see some of the pieces in the back of this mirrored ombre quilt behind me that uses the grays in that are popped. The wings are popped. So I'm going to show you what the difference is between the 3 tools, and then the following week after that I'm going to show you how easy it is to add the corner pop tools to a flying geese unit. So I hope that made sense. And I'm going to be starting to go out and I'm going to do some other things with demonstrating what's in the book and some other little elements as the weeks go by. So watch for videos and other pictures coming out soon. Thank you all coming on and joining me as we walk through this step of doing the flying geese units. I hope you'll come and join me next week. Again, the Poppin With Wings book will be released in December, but pre-sales will start in November 6th. So, and I'm going to have some great deals for you if you don't have the tools also. So I hope you will stay tuned with me, and we'll get you through get you through so you understand what it takes to make one of these quilts. And I will see you soon. Bye.